It all fell apart in a single morning. The alarms, the calls, the screens flashing red across the glass walls of the 32nd floor. Just 12 hours ago, Nathan Cole had been a billionaire, a man whose empire stretched from New York to Singapore, whose name stood for innovation and untouchable success. But now, as the words, "system compromised," glowed from every monitor in his office, he sat frozen, numb, and hollow. Decades of building, billions in assets, thousands of employees, all hanging by a thread of digital destruction. It was as if life itself had declared war on him. If you believe in second chances, kindness, and people who appear in our lives when we least expect them, then please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Hope Fuse, because what happens next proves that angels sometimes wear janitor uniforms. Nathan's fortune had always been his armor. He had climbed from a poor neighborhood into wealth so unimaginable that he began to forget the taste of ordinary struggle. But when a massive cyber attack wiped his company's servers, every penny, contract, and client file vanished into digital smoke. The press called it the fall of a giant. Investors fled, partners turned their backs. And in that sterile office overlooking the sleepless city, Nathan sat among glowing screens and shattered pride, wondering how he could lose everything without a single explosion. Just silence and a line of code. That night, he didn't go home. There was no one waiting there. His wife had left 2 years earlier when the world revolved too tightly around his success, and their daughter now lived with her mother overseas. So Nathan stayed, slumped in his chair, surrounded by the dying hum of machines. The only sound was the faint squeak of a mop moving across the floor, an unnoticed rhythm in the background of his despair. Evan Turner was the night janitor. 33 years old, quiet, with a neatly kept beard and tired eyes that carried the weight of something deeper than fatigue. He worked 2 jobs to support his 6-year-old son, Mason, who spent his nights at a neighbor's house until Evan's shift ended. Most people in the building didn't notice him, except when floors gleamed or trash bins emptied themselves as if by magic. But that night, when he saw the CEO's light still on, he paused. Nathan didn't even notice Evan at first, just a reflection moving behind him. But when he finally looked up, he saw the men standing respectfully near the doorway, mop in hand. Eyes resting on the bright red message on the screen. "System compromised. Rough night, sir?" Evan asked softly. Nathan only nodded, unable to form words. He hadn't spoken to anyone in hours. Evan hesitated but stepped closer. There was something about the scene, the billionaire looking so human, so broken, that stirred a strange compassion in him. He had cleaned these offices for months, sweeping around people who treated him like a shadow. But tonight, the roles had somehow reversed. Nathan looked smaller, not because of his stature, but because he was stripped of everything that made him powerful. Evan set his mop aside and glanced at the screens. "If it's a system breach," he said, "you might still have backups unless they got your redundancy layers too." Nathan blinked, surprised. "You know about systems?" Evan smiled faintly. "Used to. Before this, I was in IT. When my wife passed, I needed something steadier to take care of my boy. Night shifts made it easier to be there for him during the day." That was the first spark of stranger's quiet words that cut through the fog of Nathan's panic without thinking. He let Evan sit at one of the terminals. They worked side by side for hours, the billionaire and the janitor combing through logs, tracing digital fingerprints, isolating corrupted nodes. Evan's hands moved with calm precision, typing command lines Nathan hadn't touched. Years there was no arrogance, no condescension, only 2 men caught in the same storm by dawn. They had managed to isolate the attack vector, a piece of malicious code disguised within a partner firm's software. It wasn't everything, but it was a lifeline. Nathan watched in disbelief as system after system flickered back to life data, gradually restoring from the fragmented shadow drives he'd forgotten even existed. For the first time in days, he exhaled. He looked at Evan, this janitor, this stranger, and saw something he hadn't seen in a long time: grace. In the weeks that followed, Nathan couldn't get that night out of his mind. He invited Evan to meet him again, this time not after hours, but in daylight. Evan was hesitant, unsure why a man like Nathan would remember him. But Nathan had begun rebuilding, and he wanted to do it differently. He offered Evan a position in his cybersecurity team, citing his skill and humility. At first, Evan refused, saying he didn't want charity. Nathan replied that it wasn't charity, it was recognition. Their bond grew from their Mason, Evan's little boy. Often came to the office when his dad worked late. Nathan would bring him snacks, sometimes tell him stories about the stars visible from the tall windows, the men who once measured life in stock values. began measuring it in moments of quiet connection. Slowly, Nathan started giving back, setting up scholarships, supporting single parents, and rebuilding his company with empathy at its core. But what truly changed him wasn't success returning, it was purpose. He saw his own reflection in Evan, a man who had lost love, fought battles in silence, and still found the courage to help someone else. One evening, Nathan told Evan, "You didn't just save my company. You reminded me what life feels like." And as time passed, their friendship became legend inside the firm. The billionaire who fell and the janitor who lifted him back up, not with wealth, but with kindness. Nathan often said in interviews that his greatest fortune wasn't in money, but in the moment someone who had nothing gave him everything. If this story moved you even a little, if it reminded you that kindness can come from the most unexpected hearts, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Hope Fuse. Stories like these deserve to live on. Before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe one act of compassion can truly change a life? Nathan never forgot that night in the office, the glow of the screens, the quiet strength of a man in a green uniform, the heartbeat of hope pulsing through the dark. The billionaire had lost everything. But in losing it, he found something far greater. He found humanity.